Welcome to the test of QJMOTOR SRK 800. I'm Alex, and today I want to share with you a few of the key points of this particular motorcycle, which I've recently had a chance of testing both on road but also on the racetrack, and being able to confront myself in terms of opinions and thoughts with the official QJMOTOR WSBK racing team, her racer, Raffaele De Rosa, who is currently participating in the super sports category with this bike. So let's start with a few cold numbers. We're talking about a 4-cylinder inline 778 cubic centimeter engine with 4 valves per cylinder. We're looking at a declared power of approximately 103 HP at the crankshaft, which translates to roughly 94 HP to the rear wheel. So not really a small displacement bike, not really a beginner's bike, but at the same time something that QJMOTOR has designed to appeal to less experienced users as well, and we will shortly talk about why. Going further, we can see that we're talking about a tubular iron chassis, iron frame, where the tail section subframe is welded together, so it's all one piece. We are looking at front and rear Marzocchi suspension, fully settable in terms of preload, compression and rebound. We're looking at Brembo braking setup in the front with a double 320mm disc by Brembo. Calipers also with radial mount and quadruple pistons by Brembo, as well as our brake pump. And on the rear, a single 260mm disc with a caliper also by Brembo. We are looking at roughly 205 kilograms of gross weight, so with all fluids in it, as well as a seat height of 810 millimeters, which makes it ideal for a average consumer, average user. Perhaps taller riders will feel a little bit more cramped, but without excessive pressure on knees and forearms. But the average rider, let's say from 170 to 180 centimeter height, will find himself in a very comfortable sitting position. In terms of the looks, well, we can see it's a pretty well designed bike. It has a aggressive and yet soft kind of look. Much of the design was aided by an Italian designer team, and I suppose you can say it is visible, especially when we look at it in this beautiful red, bright red color. It's a pleasant bike to look at. Of course, there are a few details that are now particularly interesting and must in terms of looks. We're looking here at the front winglets, which are, however, not only a design feature, they actually do work. We weren't able to measure the actual direct impact in terms of how many kilograms of downward pressure they bring at high speeds, but we do know they work because when we tried it on track, we had a version without winglets, and it was obvious and clear that removing the winglets made the entry into the turn, the hard braking area, quite a lot harder and quite a lot less stable than when it has the winglets. So they're not only there for show, they do actually work, although of course one has to reach the highest speeds. In terms of seating arrangement, the seating triangle is a semi-sporty sitting arrangement. It is clear that this bike is following a trend which has been now on the market already for a few years. Think about the CBR 650, think about the Ninja 650. So, in other words, bikes that, while preserving a sport-oriented, race-oriented outlook and design, do compromise to be able to offer riders a comfort that also works in everyday riding situation, which means that the seating triangle now is quite comfortable for everyday use in the city, on the hills, on the B roads, on the little country roads. But at the same time, if you try or you want to go and push it a bit further, for example, as we did on a racetrack scenario, well, it is, despite not being a super sport or a pure racing bike, it allows us to be able to take full advantage of its power, its chassis, and all that the bike has to deliver. On a few other little notes, we can perhaps talk about the electronics. Now, the bike does not come with ride-by-wire, which means there is no quick shift up or down option. Although, to be honest, up, it's very easy to shift without using the clutch. Simply have to get the right moment, and it's very, very easy, whereas downshift, of course, needs the support of the clutch. In terms of electronics aid, the bike does offer two riding modes, a sport one and a road one. It offers traction control. However, traction control is only a two-channel thing, on and off. It offers ABS, again, on and off. All of this to be able to offer riders and users the safety that is required, especially in tricky conditions such as wet road surfaces, dirty road surfaces, or to provide an extra layer of safety for those less experienced riders, while at the same time allowing more experienced riders to take full advantage of the power delivery that the bike indeed has to offer, as we, for example, did on the racetrack. This all translates in a package that is well put together, and the objective is clearly that of offering all users a very, very high value for money package. Not necessarily top of the range, big name accessories and components. For example, the forks as well as the rear shocks are Marzocchi instead of, let's say, Öhlins or Showa. But at the same time, definitely top of what can be achieved in order to give you a very, very interesting retail price. At present, this bike is available for sale on mainland Europe for 8,800 euros. That's MSRP. And there's no need to say much more than that. You yourselves can imagine and do a comparison with what is on the market. The objective of QJMOTOR is to develop products that are definitely good value for money, while thinking about the pockets of our younger users or those users that do not necessarily have such high requirements where there is the need to spend big bucks on. So from that point of view, I personally feel it's a very competitive package. As I said, we've been able to test it both on road and on racetrack. And we were also lucky enough to exchange a few words with Raffaele De Rosa, the professional rider that is now participating in the super sport category in the World Superbike Championship with this bike. And we will share with you shortly some of his key points and thoughts. In the meantime, perhaps I can share some of what I feel from my point of view, not being by all means a professional rider, but somebody that has been riding since I was 5 years old. And as you can tell by my white beard, I am now already in a relatively advanced age, but still to this day like to go on racetrack, to keep fit and to pursue my passion. And as I said, as a non-professional, as a fairly advanced amateur rider, I'd like to share with you a few of the first feelings and impressions I had of this bike. Starting with the sense of stability. Thanks to both the chassis and all the components, it transmits a very safe and secure sense of stability throughout. It doesn't matter if we are in hard braking condition, hard acceleration, corner entry, corner exit, it always feels predictable and stable. It's not super sharp in terms of agility, definitely agile enough to face quick S's and changes of direction without any problems, without any worries. But throughout, it really is giving you a sense of the bike always holds. From this point of view, I reckon it's a really perfectly successful package. The second point I'd like to point out is that the engine is not crazy powerful, but it has a very linear and very predictable power delivery. So like we just mentioned, the top power at the wheel is roughly 95 horsepower at 10,000 RPM, whereas the top torque is 75 Newton meters at 8,500 RPM. From these simple numbers, you can tell it's an engine that likes to rev fairly high to give the best performance, but the way the curves of both torque and power are delivering this to the rider are very linear, very predictable, which means, once again, that it's a perfect bike for the target usage. In other words, the less experienced rider, the non-professional amateur that likes to perhaps ride on hilly and mountain roads, go for a little weekend drive with friends, and on occasion wants to go play on the racetrack, although of course with a fairly sporty orientation. The seat is very comfortable and very well designed. It looks pretty thin, but the padding is definitely comfortable. So once again, designed not for racetrack use, although I must admit it was nice to have such a comfortable seat for a whole day on the racetrack. It's clear that the main purpose is to ensure comfort even for longer rides in those daily situations which most riders like you and I will come across in everyday life. Same goes for the rear seat for the passenger, which is not large in surface, as you can tell, but definitely offers sufficient comfort for your pillion once you want to take him or her around for a couple of hours of weekend touring, to go to a bikers meetup or whatever. And the same goes for the foot pegs, which even for the passenger offers sufficient space without having to cramp the knees too much. The rider's foot pegs are sufficiently high to enable a good leaning angle without becoming uncomfortable even after many hours of usage. Now, for the road use, as they are, there is absolutely no problem. For the racetrack use, the only little detail was we had to remove the safety pins here, which on a track had a tendency of touching and grazing the ground a little too early. But once these were removed, we really were able to achieve fairly significant angles of lean and always feeling safe without having anything else touching. Same goes for the OEM tires the bike comes equipped with from the beginning. They are Maxxis, which is a Chinese brand, but of certainly very, very good quality. I must say we were surprised without tire warmers, without any particular attention. We just had to decrease the tire pressure a little bit. On the track, a whole day, we had no worries whatsoever, no issues whatsoever. So definitely good tires. The wheels and the tires come on fairly standard sizes of 180 55/17 on the rear and 120 70/17 on the front, which means once the original OEM tires are worn out, you also will be able to match them up with any kind of tires you normally find on the market. The wet weight of the bike is about 203 kilograms, which is not a featherweight, that is true. However, it's because of the way the bike is designed and the balance sense that it gives us and the stability it gives us, it really only is perhaps perceivable at the very slowest speeds or when stopping and parking, turning the bike around. As soon as we start moving, it becomes effortless. So once again, a bike that even beginners will feel comfortable with, will feel safe with, and will feel in control of at all times. What were the other key points we perceived from our day on the racetrack? Well, I think the brakes, I wouldn't say surprised me, but definitely impressed me. Because, as we said, they're Brembo, so there is no doubt about quality of Brembos, but they're not the top of the range Stylemas. However, considering that these are the brakes that are meant for street use, after a whole day on the racetrack with lots of hard braking, one would expect to have a bit of a fading sensation. And while it was slightly perceivable, it really held on very, very well, to the point that throughout the day we really hardly had to adjust even the lever extension, and it was really a surprise. It means that QJMOTOR has brought us components that, to be able to keep this price range, are really at the top of the game. Same thing goes for the suspension. They're Marzocchi's, Italian brand with a long history. They are tweakable and they're adjustable, both preload, compression and rebound. And the rear monoshock is adjustable on preload alone via a separate handle here, which means it's very easy to do. If suddenly we have a passenger coming along with us, we don't have to pull the tools out and go looking for the adjustment on the shock itself. It's a couple of seconds thing. Via this handle here, we can adjust it. Now, what was the feedback? On the street, I would say flawless. They tend to be soft and very forgiving. They are very good at absorbing the normal road surfaces, imperfections, holes, and what have you. And in that kind of situation, on that kind of road surface, I have absolutely no qualms with the suspension as they are, which proves once again that you don't have to have the top names to be able to have a good feedback and result. And especially, remember, QJ is designing and producing this motorcycle to offer great value for money. So given the retail price which this bike is available for, the equipment is honestly top notch. On racetrack use, all we had to do was set up pretty much to the hardest setting that was available. Would it be the same as a racing setup? Of course not. But is it good enough, as you can see from the images, to be able to really enjoy oneself, to really do hard braking, hard acceleration, and feel stability in the corners? Absolutely no problem. So once again, a very well thought of detail that hits the sweet spot between price and value and usability. So as anticipated, let's see what a professional rider had to say about this particular bike when we had a chance to meet him on the racetrack day. Hello friends, and welcome to Ningbo Racetrack. We are in China, in the city of Ningbo here, where we are participating today in the first QJ Superbike event that was organized with the help of the official QJMOTOR factory racing team and our rider Raffaele De Rosa, who came specifically from Italy to help our Chinese fans to get a taste for the racing spirit and the superbike culture here in China. Hello Raffaele, welcome to China.
Hi.
I hope you're not too tired.
No.
Okay. So we want to talk a bit about a couple of things. QJ Motor is obviously a Chinese brand, a huge industrial conglomerate that in Europe is not so known yet, or perhaps in the rest of the world, but it's a powerhouse. From a technical budget and production capability point of view, it's really a powerhouse. And here in China, they're #1 in sales for more than 12 years. They have a huge volume of production of bikes that are exported throughout the world, in developing countries, non-developed countries, but in recent years have been putting more and more effort into developing bikes that are better suited for, let's say, slightly more advanced markets, especially European market. And here we have the SRK 800 that is pretty much the first racing bike by QJ, but very interestingly is also at the same time the basis on which the official QJ Motor racing factory racing team has developed the bike that is now participating with Raffaele in the superbike super sport category. So I guess the first thing to ask you is, you've ridden this bike, you've ridden your bike, which is the racing one with plenty of modifications, but today you had a chance of riding the standard version, let's say. How big is the difference, and what are the good points of the bike, both in the version that you ride, racing, and the version that our motorcyclist friends can actually buy themselves?
Hello everyone. I'm Raffaele De Rosa. Nothing. Today I tried the standard bike, and it's nice because for the everyone is simple. It's a very simple when we open the throttle. This is very important. Also have a good brake. And the best point is the stability.
Okay.
Also, our racing bike have this quality.
Okay.
For the race bike we improve a lot the power. Also, we have a lot of stability.
Okay.
And then that's all. I'm happy to be part of this project.
Absolutely. we probably need to share with all our friends following us and watching this that QJ has started this project just 6 months ago, which in the racing world is yesterday.
Yes,
And
just starting point.
starting point, exactly. And this is the first bike that was produced by QJ that is joining the racing category. It's a bike that was not specifically designed with racing in mind, but QJ as a factory, as a brand, is using this opportunity and a very good rider as well as a very professional team to understand where more work can be done, which direction to take for improvement. And I understand that the factory, the brand, is supporting you very much in this work, yes?
Exactly. At the moment, the factory already make some parts, some new parts for us, and it's incredible because it's not too easy for our factory change immediately something. Especially when you talk with a big factory. But anyway, I'm very happy for this job, and um, and also we have many idea where improve the bike. We need only the time.
Absolutely. Like we said, 6 months is just a starting point. I'm sure that with a bit of time and with such a great team behind and the support of the factory, you can do a great work. I just want to share with our followers a couple of basic technical details because the bike is an inline four, like we said, 800cc. The key points, based on my little experience and when I've tested it, are also the same as Raffaele said. A very stable, intuitive chassis. It feels light to handle. It feels stable.
The handling is good.
Is good.
Is good and is very important. The battery at the moment is a little bit too heavy.
Yes, that's something we wanted to say. It's still tending to be heavy, but the factory is already working on it. We know that there will be developments, but let's put it this way. It's heavy for a professional rider in a racetrack kind of setting. For the average Joe, for the average rider on the street,
Perfect.
it's no problem, right? It feels stable, it feels reactive. The weight is not so that you cannot control it. Maybe when you stop you can feel it, but once you're riding, once you're moving, it's okay. Very good brakes, I think. Components are good level. We're looking at full Marzocchi suspension, front and rear. We're looking at Brembo calipers as well as main pumps. We're looking at quite a lot of fairly good equipment as a standard. Nice CNC triple clamps, very pleasant TFT display, which for road use is very important. The bike is, like we said, the starting point of a long road that QJ has just started taking, but it's already a very good package for those friends who want to, especially younger friends, younger motorcyclists that maybe are for the first time coming to experience a sporty bike, right?
Perfect.
It's
the
perfect.
first time is perfect.
So yeah, it's a very good bike for a beginner, right? And I think an important thing to say, it's the value for money, because it's a
Compromise.
It's a compromise, but it's also a very good package for younger riders that want to start getting a good, stable, user-friendly bike, which maybe is not extremely powerful, maybe is not extremely light, but want to save a bit on the budget. Now this is a great choice. So very quickly before everybody goes, because I know you still have to take a few guests on the bike, last thing, what is your objective as a rider and as a team for this year, and what is your hope for the future of the project?
At the moment, we take some point, and if possible, for sure we have a dream of one podium, and that's all.
Okay. Well, thank you, Raffaele. We really thank you for the time. We wish you best of luck throughout the year. Friends, you can keep an eye on this name and remember it. Like we said, They're just starting to show up in Europe, but it's a real powerhouse in the background. We've these days visited the factory. It's huge, it's impressive. We've spoken to the boss, and he has many ideas for the future development. So we are sure that you will be able to hear more and more about QJ. So follow us on the official accounts. Check out the website. If you can, go and check out the nearest dealer to where you live and give it a try, because honestly, for the price you're gonna pay, it's definitely worth considering. Until then, we say ciao to everybody. Keep following the team on Super Sport. Next race is in Italy, Misano, June 13th, 14th. Come on, give us a hand, and we'll see you soon. Bye-bye.
See you. Bye-bye.
Finally, I think what is very important to mention is the fact that this bike is participating, or it is the basis on which the official team is participating in the Super Sport at the highest level of the series bikes competition, the WSBK. Now, QJ knew since the beginning that this bike isn't specifically designed for racing. However, the reason they decided to join the competition is because they want to be able to, A, keep developing better and better, more and more competitive products, even sportier ones than this for the future, and increase their international standing, but at the same time to demonstrate to everybody that although it's not a racing bike and it was never designed to be a championship winning bike, with a few tweaks here and there in the hands of professionals, it's good enough to really start competing at the highest of levels. So in other words, if your objective is to have a bike that definitely looks cool and sporty and allows you to enjoy a sporty kind of riding without wanting to spend the huge amount of money that is normally required for that level of professional bikes, and you rather have something that, while enabling to go on track when you want to, at the same time satisfies all the kind of requirements that we encounter during our daily riding, well, in that case, I strongly recommend you go look for the nearest dealer to you and book your test ride, because the SRK 800, I promise you, will surprise you, and probably surprise you in a good way. Thanks. Bye-bye.